Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am really thrilled to welcome back Amresh Singh. He is the founder and CEO of HomeAbroad. I'm sure you watched the last video where we discussed why international buyers are interested in investing in US real estate and some trends that he sees and so forth. We got a lot of interested folks in the video, and we wanted to just follow up with another discussion about how you can get a loan and financing and so forth. Welcome back. We're very happy that you joined us today. And let's just kind of kick it off by talking about how getting a loan works for international buyers that may be different than getting your traditional loan as domestic real estate investor.
Awesome. Thank you, Angela. First of all, thank you for having me back. It was a great conversation with you last time. Glad that you got a lot of interest from your viewers. Appreciate that. Getting right into your question that you asked, how is it different from a mortgage financing, right? Typically, the first thing that would come to your mind, it's not intuitive. Why would someone give mortgage financing, a US mortgage, to someone who is not living or working in the US? You don't have a US credit history, you don't have a US residency. What enables you to get a mortgage financing in the US, right? So it's a very counterintuitive product. High level, the biggest challenge is lack of credit history, of course. There's no US credit score, there's no US FICO. How do you balance for that? So what we basically do, depending upon the type of borrower you are, because not all foreign buyers are created equal, depending upon your persona. So if you are someone who is not living and working in the US, but you're an investor in the US real estate, you're buying a real estate from an investment perspective, that's a different loan program. If you are someone who is buying a second home, say I'm a Canadian and I'm a snowbird, I love to escape my winter months in Florida. And in that scenario, you're buying a second home as a foreign national, that's a different loan product. If I am, say, working for Amazon in India, and now Amazon is moving me to the headquarters in Seattle, and I'm relocating to buy a primary residence, that's a different loan product. Really, it depends upon what foreign national persona you fit into. The beauty of this is we have a loan program and product for all of these personas. Investment being the something that is heavily sought after. We discussed about the benefits of US real estate investment in our last podcast. To recap for the new listeners, US real estate is probably one of the only real estate markets in the world where you can generate passive income through leverage, which means 25% of your money helps you buy 100% of the property. And the rent covers mortgage from day one, plus generates you additional income or cash flow, which is kind of unheard in different around the world. And what really enables that to happen is based on the high rental yields and 30-year fixed rate mortgage products in the US. So the global investors, the way we qualify them really is based on the rental income of the property. Till the rental income of the property exceeds your mortgage payment, you're good for the loan. And it's a win-win situation because as an investor, you want to make sure that your investment is cash flow positive from day one. And before you even close on the transaction, we as mortgage shop are vouching for the property that from a conservative basis, the rental income will cover the mortgage payment and give you cash flow. So there's a return on cash flow, and also the property is going to appreciate in US dollars every year. So that's kind of from the return from cash flow plus property appreciation is your combined return on the cash invested is going to be a down payment. So
So,
for second homes, sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh, I was gonna ask, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was kind of curious to see if they're coming in and this is their first time investing in US real estate. Are there certain things that always seem to come up? Are they concerned about not having enough down payment, or what are the biggest concerns that they oftentimes want to have addressed?
So I think the first thing they ask is, I don't have a social security number. I don't have, an SSN. Am I eligible? Or I don't have a credit score in the US. Am I eligible? And of course, it's not intuitive, right? So we explain to them, hey, yes, you are eligible, right? We don't need a US credit score or an SSN for you to qualify for financing. What we pride in is the common sense underwriting. So you're buying an investment property. Till the rental income covers your mortgage payment, you have enough skin in the game through the down payment. So we require 25% down payment from foreign nationals, right? Which ensures there's enough skin in the game for you to continue, your mortgage payment. Plus, really, we're not looking into your personal income or assets. Really, the qualification is based on the merit of the property itself. So till the rent that you're generating covers mortgage, we know the default is going to be very, very low. So that's kind of the basis of this product. From a foreign national standpoint, the biggest question that comes up is, how are you qualifying me? Are you going to look at my income? Are you going to look at my assets, my foreign country? Right? And our answer is no. All we want to ensure is that you have enough money that you can put 25% down. You have enough money for the closing cost. That's the only thing that we are verifying from an asset standpoint. Great news is, we don't even need money to be seasoned for certain months. So basically what we need is 30-day seasoning. So till the money is in your bank account for 30 days, we can you consider that asset for down payment and closing costs. We don't even need to look at your trade lines or credit history in your home country, right? So we don't ask for your credit card statements for the last 12 months, or we don't run an international credit report. We don't do any of that stuff. What we are looking for really is the rental income that the property generates, which we determine by a third party appraisal that we order on the property, right? So till the rental income that covers your mortgage, you're good for the loan.
Yeah, I bet that's actually something that people don't know. I feel like a lot of international investors or people that are looking might think, oh, I don't even qualify at all. They don't even think about it because they don't think they have the qualifications. And I think if you go through the banks, they will just likely just say, oh, okay, yeah, no, it's not going to happen. I don't think that people
Absolutely.
understand, right? Like there's all these
Yeah.
creative financing options.
Absolutely right. And the biggest thing is, even today, the investors who are investing in US real estate because they know about the benefits of US real estate, most of them are buying in cash. They're not leveraging financing to really amplify the return on cash invested, right? Because trying all your money in one property, whereas the same amount of money could help you buy four properties, given you only 25% down payment for one property, right? So you can really amplify your returns. But as you mentioned, there's lack of knowledge and awareness. Plus, the
Absolutely.
biggest thing, and as you said, banks is a non-starter, right? Because you don't have a credit history in the US, you don't have SSN, they can't give you a loan, right?
Right.
But most importantly, people think, okay, great, you're giving me the loan, but it's probably a hard money loan and it's going to be ridiculous interest rate on that loan. But thing is, you are only paying between 0.5% to 0.7%, 75% higher than what a US based domestic investor would pay for an investment loan. So it's very, very competitive. It's not, and if you think about that Freddie Fannie 30-year fixed rate mortgage loan, you're only paying around 1 to 1.5% higher than a 30-year fixed Freddie Fannie government GSE loans. So it's actually very, very, very competitive, and which really adds, to that aha moment when we educate our global investors about why this makes sense. It's not really, okay, you don't have a credit history, you don't have an SSN, you're a foreign national, not living and working in the US, I'm going to charge you a 15% interest rate. That's not the case. It's a 30-year mortgage, amortized over 30-year period. It's not a short-term loan, it's not a hard money loan, and your interest rate is only going to be 0.5% to 0.75% higher as the risk overlay of being a foreign national than what a US based domestic investor would pay for the same investment loan.
That's fascinating because in the Korean American community, I see a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people that come to the States after they retire and they basically
Mm-hmm.
have this idea that the only way rather that they can buy a house is all cash. So I've seen them put
Mm-hmm.
cash and they were just so surprised by, oh man, that was a big chunk of my nest egg. And the fact
Mm-hmm.
that they're not even aware that there's all these options that they want to generate income. And you're
Absolutely.
provide that. And I think that's really fascinating. And I remember I wanted to go back to your point about like a second property and what that's
Mm-hmm.
like. Can you talk
Mm-hmm.
about that for maybe both domestic and international buyers, like what that means and what kind of financing is available?
Sure. So I'll touch on the foreign nationals first because same challenge, right? So if you're buying a second home, so you're not going to generate an income from the property. So you're going to buy the property for your own use. You're going to live 6 months, say, in the United States and 6 months in your home country, and you need a place to stay. So now the rental income goes out of question. So we need to qualify you for that financing based on your income or your assets. Now, great thing about that is we can use your foreign income and foreign assets for loan qualification. So if you are employed, we can use your foreign pay stub. If you are self-employed, we can use either your bank statement, your assets, or we can use a letter from your CPA saying, hey, this is the income for this particular individual in last 2 years. So we use what we call alternative documentation to qualify you for financing. Now, since you're buying a second home and the rental income is out of the question, in this situation, we would verify your credit through your international credit report or through bank reference letter or proof of trade line payments in your home country. Like if you have paid a credit card in your home country, will use last 12 months of record of payment on your credit card. But it's pretty straightforward. Again, we are just looking to make sure that you have enough income and assets to pay your mortgage in the United States and have been a good borrower based on your history of payment in your home country. But we can use all the information to help you qualify for a second home in the United States.
What should they be preparing? So I know you mentioned like the 25% down payment and so forth. So let's say that looking at buying my first US property, whether I'm not really sure if it's going to be an investment property or something that I'm going to rent out, I just want to buy a single family home. How should I be preparing? Like, what should I be preparing before talking with you? Are there certain steps that they should be taking?
Yeah, so like if you are buying that property with an intent to rent, first thing is to make sure that the property is the right property for you. So make sure everything that goes into your monthly mortgage payment, which is principal, interest, taxes, insurance, HOA fee, if any. A lot of time we have borrowers who come to us like a property did inquire about the HOA fee, which turned out to be very high and did not meet their investment object. Or say they're buying a property or a condo where the HOA has restrictions on rental property. So those are the things that you need to keep in mind. Do your due diligence to make sure that you're not seeing any outrageous HOA fee or there are any restrictions on renting out the property, making sure high level cash flow makes sense. So understanding right areas, understanding right markets to invest, right? To make that easier, we've actually launched what we're calling internally as Zillow for investment properties. So, a property portal platform where you can go, you can define your investment objective. Whether I'm looking to generate a cash flow per month, where I'm looking to get a certain return on my cash invested, where I want to buy certain attributes like job growth, population growth, whatnot. And our platform will actually mine the data on not only listings that are active on MLS right now, but also offline listings that we are having realtors and existing real estate investors list on our platform to give you the right options on the properties that make sense based on cash flow, return on cash invested, and your investment objectives. So you can kind of really fine tune the properties that make sense to you. If you're buying second home, really, then it's where you want to buy. If I want to go and spend my time on Daytona Beach every winter from Canada, I'm buying my house in Daytona Beach, no matter, what the cash flow looks like, right? So that's a whole different equation. But again, like if you're doing that from a preparation standpoint, just from a loan standpoint, just make sure you have enough assets for your down payment, 20% for second home and primary, 25% for investment property, account for for I would say around 3 to 4% of the loan amount as closing costs on top of the down payment for total assets needed to close. Make sure you're not transferring money between various accounts. So at the end of the day, we need to make sure the money that you're going to be using for your cash to close is coming from one account. Makes it simpler for everyone instead of spreading it across multiple accounts from an underwriting standpoint. Thinking about your insurance, your taxes, those are another thing that you need to account for. But apart from that, it's pretty straightforward process. You'd think as a foreign national, things would be a little bit more complicated, but it's really not. You go through the same mortgage process that anyone in the US would undergo.
Oh, that's really good to know because I always feel like there's this perception that it's just gotta be extremely complicated, and I think that can deter people. What do you think is kind of like the outlook for this year? Do you think that we're gonna start to see? Because I'm hearing people have very different opinions about like, oh, I think we're not gonna have any international buyers, we're not gonna have any foreign investors, slow down quite a bit. We don't foresee that happening with the new administration and so forth. Like, what are you saying from your end? Do you think that, we'll start having them back, or is the housing market getting hotter, cooler? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. So, of course, every administration comes in with their own set of policies and agenda. But what we're telling our customers, real estate is a long-term game. It's not short-term game. And I don't see the long long-term dynamics about the value proposition around investing in US real estate changing. You're gonna see the mortgage rates stabilize. The property demand remains high. Actually there's a lot of people who are priced out of the market right now. I was looking at the recent data, and 70% of existing homeowners in the US have their interest rate lower than 4.5% right now. There's a natural shortage of inventory because existing homeowners don't want to sell, because if they buy a new one, the interest rates and payments go up. So people are sticking and to their existing home for longer than ever because where the interest rates stand, which is creating this package of inventory in the market. We're not building fast enough to account for that shortage of inventory. So if you're a real estate investor, this is actually a good thing. If you're a real estate investor, right, who is looking to invest in US real estate, what happens when the rate goes down? A lot of these people who have been priced out of the market are suddenly going to come in, and that will shoot up the real estate prices. So suddenly you are building a lot of equity into your property in a very short time. And rate shouldn't matter to you, because the way we are qualifying you for mortgage is you're going to break even on your mortgage payment regardless, irrespective of the rate. It doesn't matter if the rate is 6%, 7%, 8%, or 9%. The fact that we are using the rental income to cover the mortgage, the fact that upfront this property is going to be either break even or cash flow positive, shouldn't matter. But if the rate goes down, which we hope towards the end of the year, it's going to start stabilizing, and hopefully we're going to see interest rates stabilize around, I would say, between 5 to 6%. That would mean a lot of people who are priced out right now are going to jump in, and that will increase the property prices. And suddenly, as a real estate investor, I'm looking at a lot of equity built into my property, which then I can do a cash out refinance, take that equity out, use that money to put down payment on another property, which in turn is cash flow positive, and kind of repeat that cycle. So if you are an investor right now, our advice to them is think of real estate as long term. Current administration is not going to have an impact in terms of long term value prop of US real estate. And if anything, current administration is open to business. It's a capital market where supply and demand takes its own course. And the way the robustness of US real estate is structured, it does not dilute that value proposition irrespective of the administration.
Oh, that's a very good point because I feel like there's a lot of concerns about even EB5. There's been talks about replacing that
Yeah.
with something else and all of this. And I think it's really good for people to know to just not really listen to everything that you're hearing in the media, but stick to the facts. And real estate is a long-term investment. It's not 4 years and it's gonna dramatically change. I guess kind of like my last question is, are there the biggest sort of trends that you're seeing between domestic investors that you're dealing with versus foreign investors? Like, are there certain markets that are very popular, or are there certain type of financing that you're seeing? Are there some like common things that you're seeing?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Angela, right? Probably you'd be surprised that by knowing that only 7% of Americans own investment property. There's a huge
Wow.
gap.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that small. Oh,
Yeah, because
wow. That's amazing.
at the end of the day, like if you talk to someone and say, hey, everyone knows real estate is where you build money, right? Is where you really build your wealth. But no one wants to be a landlord, right? No one wants to go through the hassles of being a landlord. And that's the biggest, say, inertia of stepping into real estate investment. But the wealth building cycle that the US real estate provides, the reason why global investors are investing in US real estate, why you think there's a value prop, right? That's the reason why so many global investors want to put their money in the US. But we in the US are oblivious to the fact of and benefits of US real estate investment. While we were building our platform for foreign investors to find the right investment property, it struck us, because same value prop applies to US based investors. If the penetration of investment properties within the American population is only 7%, there is a gap in the market. There is no Zillow for investment properties where I can just go and explore. I can put some attributes, right? And I can say, okay, this is my investment objective. Show me the properties that work for me. Now, if I have data in front of me, I see how much cash flow I'm going to generate, what's going to be my return on cash invested. I'm more inclined to take the next step versus, thinking about no, this is not for me. So we're trying to kind of solve that gap for US based investors as well. But that same thing, the knowledge gap that we talked about foreign investors exists for domestic investors too. People in the US, they don't know that there are specialized loan products or mortgage programs for real estate investors where we are not looking into your personal income. We are qualifying you based on your property's income. If you talk to someone who realizes, hey, real estate investment is where I'm going to build my wealth, but they're thinking, hey, I'm already paying my mortgage. I can't afford a second mortgage with my car payment, with my child education, whatnot. This is something that's not for me because they don't know that a loan product exists where we don't need your personal income till you have the money to put. And if you're a US person, you need to put only 15% down. So till you can put between 15 to 20% down, that money can help you buy 100% of the property. Since rent covers mortgage, you don't have to worry about your monthly payment, and the property keeps growing. If the rates go down, as we talked about, it's going to appreciate. You're going to do a cash out, put that as down payment on another property, and the cycle repeats. And there's a huge knowledge gap in the US market too, which we are trying to address with our new brand Ziffy, which we're going to be focused on local domestic investors. So we're going to be in both one platform to serve real estate investment in the US, both global and local is really where we are heading right now.
Oh, okay. You have to come back, and I want to dedicate a segment to that because I'm really fascinated to learn more about that because I didn't realize it was as little as 7% that
It
people own
is.
investment
That was
property.
surprising for us too when we were doing our research. Really fascinating, The opportunity in this space is humongous, right? Because you're talking about creating wealth. It's
Yeah.
common sense. It's common sense that is not easily, it's not very common, is how I should kind of put it, which we are
Yeah.
trying to kind of really lead with education and awareness, help a new investor come to our platform, explore investment properties, understand the numbers, see the data for themselves, and
Mhm.
then educate them about specialized loan products that exist for them. If you don't want to take on the hassles of being a landlord, there are, technology in this space has kind of risen by leaps and bounds. You can use property management companies, right property management softwares that can really take the hassles of being a landlord away, give you rent protection, give you, whatever is your criteria, whatever
Mhm.
is your concern, there's a solution that exists out there to address that concern and help you kind of deep dive into the benefits of being a real estate investor.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I would love to learn more about that because I think that, me being in California, a lot of
Yeah,
people are just like, oh, the properties out here don't make sense for investment properties. And I think people just kind of give up. They don't realize that there's
yep,
the rest of the states. There's all these markets that are actually
yeah,
very attractive for investment properties. But then exactly what you said, another argument or the pushback I get from like my network is, oh, but I don't want to, be a landlord. I don't want to do any of it. It's like, well, you can outsource that. There's all these resources out there. So I think that educating them is really important because, I'm with you. Real estate, especially particularly in the US, is the best way to really build that equity, that wealth. And I think that the stock market, all of this, it gets kind of complicated. But real estate, I
yeah,
feel like it's very simple.
yeah.
Simple, yet it's just tremendous. That's really
Yep.
great.
And it's not people don't know about it. If you think about it, and you do a survey, if
Hmm.
the wealth that most people have gained would be through appreciation in their primary residence, right? If you talk
Yes.
about in
Right.
general, how
That's
much did you
right.
gain through appreciation in the money you invested in stock market versus appreciation in your primary residence you're living right now? If it not more, it would be very, very competitive. So the point is, they know that real estate investment builds wealth. It's the idea of taking the next step, the idea of executing it is where most people are stuck, right? That's why we are at 7% penetration for investment properties. Now, keep in mind the people who are investing, they're investing in multiple properties because it's not like you do buy one investment property and you stop. Most investors, when they realize it's a cycle. So most of the real estate transaction, I think around 20% of overall transactions, in residential market is for investment. If you think about what percentage of the 20% are unique customers, you're going to see a higher percentage, right? So a lower percentage, I mean, right? So most people are repeat investors is where I'm getting at. There's a huge opportunity that exists in educating Americans around benefits of US real estate investment. If someone who's not living and working in the US is investing in US real estate for its benefits, it makes sense for you too. And you are here, you are living here, You're working here, it just makes sense. And you don't need to be tied down in the area you are living to, right? You can buy properties in Texas, Hawaii, Florida, Midwest US, where it makes sense from an investment perspective. And then that's something again that people don't know, or it's not very natural to them. They're thinking, okay, I live in this city, I need to buy investment property in and around the city. But that's not really the case. And something that we want to really educate investors through our platform.
No, absolutely. And I want to make sure that we provide them with the information and they can reach out to you and your team. And I'll be sure to add the website, down below and your contact information. But to learn more about the services, they can go to homeabroadinc.com.
Absolutely. And then our domestic arm is called Ziffy Mortgage. And the property search platform we're launching is Ziffy.ai.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, I'll be sure to include that as well. Well, thank you,
Awesome.
Amresh. This is great. It's always a joy to talk to you. And I'm already inviting you back for another video to talk about the software. So I feel like you're sharing a lot of, knowledge that people can really benefit from and really help build their investment portfolio and, build generational wealth. I think that's really
Awesome.
important.
Yeah.
Pass
That's
it
the
down.
that's the idea, Angela. Like really help people build generational wealth, right? And it's available to everyone. That's why we're trying to democratize and redefine how real estate investing works in the US.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time and look forward to welcoming you back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks for having me. Take care now. Bye.